we have TV presenter, radio presenter, content creator and influencer Shanie Ryan joining us. She's going to be telling us all about the places she travelled around the world when she was a dancer for the likes of Kelly Rowland. She absolutely loves Singapore, and she's got some great little gems in the UK that she wants to share with us. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to the latest episode of the Travel Podcast. I am so excited to bring you a really dynamic guest today. One of my friends, her name is Shanie Ryan, and she has had such an extensive career to date in the industry, in TV, radio, as a podcaster, a digital content creator, a dancer. She has done so much. So she's got so much to talk about because she is a real travel addict. Shanie Ryan, welcome to the Travel Podcast.
Travel addict is so accurate, Hayley.
You fitted so much into your life so far, but travel has been a massive part of it. And but let's just have a quick overview, because obviously I know all about your life and your achievements, and I know you don't like to talk too much about yourself, but let's just start roughly at the beginning, because you've had such a diverse career and dance was your first passion, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was a dancer from when I was a walking toddler, really, kind of jigging away to music. So yeah, I had quite a long and successful dance career. I worked with the likes of Cheryl and Wiley and, oh God, the list, Arctic Monkeys, Kelly Rowland, Prince. So I worked with some really amazing people. And my dance career took me all over the world, which was where my passion for travel really began. And then I ended up in music for a little bit once I made the decision to kind of step away from dance, started to get a few achy bones, a few torn muscles, and thought, hold on a minute, I've got to preserve. You only get one body, you've got to preserve it. And then ended up kind of doing some music stuff, signed a record deal. Again, that more travel involved in that, took me out to America. And then ended up presenting, which is what I'm still doing today. And then I've got other things that me and my husband do as well, which I'm sure you'll ask me about at some point as well.
I know. And you also qualified in beauty, didn't you? So you've taken your beauty expertise into some of your TV work.
Yeah, essentially my mum gave me a bit of a pep talk about the industry of choice, entertainment, dance, music, my passion. She gave me a few kind of words of wisdom early on and said, listen, it's a very volatile industry. You're always going to want to make sure you can pay your rent. Like, you need a little something to fall back on. And do you know what? It turned out to be really, really good advice. I qualified as a beauty expert. And actually having that beauty qualification alongside my presenting experience then gave me the opportunity at QVC. And I've been on QVC for like 9-10 years now. So it was a good idea from my mum.
Oh, well done, Mum. That was really good advice. And it's fantastic how the two sort of passions have combined, and you have just done so much. So obviously I know you went around the world as a dancer, but let's just start at your childhood. Did you have many holidays growing up? Were they UK? Did you go abroad? What was your sort of childhood holiday memories like?
Oh my gosh. So I have the worst memory, but the holidays are one of the things that kind of stick in mind. I remember there was a kind of like caravan type holiday. My mum was a single parent at the time. So it was me and my mum and one of her friends and her two kids. And then I think there was like the kind of Tenerife type trip. But we never went far. Like my mum didn't have the funds to, do Caribbean or America or anything like that. We never got to do Disneyland. I'm so excited as a parent now myself. I've got a 3-year-old little boy, River. And I'm excited to be able to take him to places like Disneyland and do things like that, because they were things that we weren't able to do. I think when I think back to my earliest memories of holidays, it was kind of like shaped on the kind of holiday that my mum loved. And my mum is just a sun worshipper. Like, she wants to go somewhere hot where she can get a nice meal, pool. You have to have a pool, and you also have to be walking distance to the beach. And it was kind of just very much like play in the pool, sunbathe, relax, get ready. We always used to get dressed up though. This is the one thing with my mum, like, she doesn't like the fact that people are quite lazy with their appearance on holiday these days. Like she loved the whole, you go back to the hotel room or the apartment, you get showered, you get dressed up, you're in your like nice clothes, you go and take a walk, you find a lovely restaurant, and you kind of really make an evening of it. And that even goes down to like, planning your holiday wardrobe. And I remember like very much that you dress up for dinner mentality, even if you were just going to somewhere like, super budget. So yeah, it was just very much like rest, relaxation, and food. But after meeting my husband, like my entire perspective on holidays and travel completely changed. But that's definitely where it started.
And was it your dance career that first kind of took you to the far-flung places that you didn't get to go as a child?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, on tour with Kelly Rowland, we went to Australia. We went to Brisbane for 3 days. That was quick. Atlanta, we went to the Bahamas. That was the first time I'd ever even heard of the Atlantis Hotel when it turned out we were staying there and performing there. And I just remember being like mind blown at this place. And like, if you think we're going back nearly 10 years, obviously you see like these grand hotels in Dubai and all of those places now. But back then, the Atlantis was just this like almost like a Disneyland for kids and adults. It was like sharks swimming in the water whilst you're having breakfast and stingrays, everywhere, and walking through these big aquarium tunnels. And just it was very grand and very incredible. And I'd never experienced anything like that before. And we went to Casablanca in Morocco, which was, my first experience of that type of culture. And where else did we go? We went to so many cool places. Paris, even. My first time in Paris was on tour. So I had some Switzerland, went to Switzerland. So, but my thing was, I think when I came out of like the 2 years of traveling with Kelly, was I'd been not everywhere, but I'd been a lot of places in the world, and I felt like I'd seen none of it because we were landing, going to a fabulous hotel, maybe having a dinner. And I always tried to do like one thing in every country that made me feel like I kind of had some sort of experience. Like in Australia, we did this show. And then the next morning, I don't think our flight was till like we didn't have to leave the airport till like 4 p.m. We had to check out at midday. And I literally went to a koala sanctuary for like 4 hours. I saw the kangaroos. I took my suitcase with me. It was like I cannot leave Australia and not see a kangaroo and a and a wallaby and like hold a koala. So I've still got this picture now of me like holding a koala in my airport outfit, before going to the airport. So I felt like I'd experienced the world, but in a very limited, small way. And it then kind of like ignited this passion for like, actually, I need to go to all of these places again. And I need to really see them and experience them. And I need to travel more outside of just work because it's very much in and out very fast.
Yeah, of course, it's a huge privilege and perk to travel around the world with a career like that. But as you say, it's a very different experience when you're working to when you're there actually as a holiday maker. The two are completely different
Well,
experiences.
Hayley, having just been to Abu Dhabi with you whilst you were working, I can honestly say you 100% know what I'm talking about because your feet did not touch the ground on that trip. So you were working, working, working. So I totally know you understand what I'm saying.
I really do. And exactly that. That's why I have to go back to Abu Dhabi as a holiday maker.
100%.
You do so much, which is incredible. But like you said, you almost like you're not able to take it in.
Mm.
It's when I look back at the photo album, I did that recently of our trip, and all those memories were there and they were created, but it's all a bit of a blur.
Yeah. I mean, I messaged you the other day, didn't I, saying, what was that hotel we went to again? And where was that? Because I was like, we did so much in 5 days. I genuinely don't know where we went.
I know. But what were your thoughts on Abu Dhabi? Because I absolutely loved it out there.
I have been shouting about it from the rooftops and telling anyone who will listen to go there. It's such a fabulous place. I really loved the Anantara in the desert. That was such an incredible experience. And although we were only there for 24 hours, I definitely feel like I got a taste of it. So me and my husband were actually looking at going there for a few days this year. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I feel like it's just peaking Dubai now. Dubai has so much to offer in terms of holidays, but something about Abu Dhabi just felt like it offered more. So, you can go out to the desert and you can have that amazing sand dunes desert. It was just, wasn't it? It was almost like we drove 3 hours into the desert and it was like we'd arrived in a different country because the heat was different. The heat was a lot drier and it was just a really nice, comfortable, hot, but a really nice, comfortable heat. And the energy was different. And unparalleled views of the sand for just miles and miles and miles with the light bouncing off it over dinner. Like all of those moments, I was like, this is incredible. But then, you go to somewhere like, was it Yas Island where we had and then you've got kind of like Cafe Del Mar Beach Club, and you've got, um, you're right near to the Emirates Stadium, and you're right near to the Formula One track, and you've got all of the theme parks, Ferrari World, and all of those things. And I was like, gosh, this is like, again, like that kind of Disneyland, Universal Studios type experience. Didn't we go to Warner Brothers World as well? All of that, like, that was so fun, and like being based there for a couple of days. And then obviously we went to, I think it was Sadia Island.
Sadia Island, that's right.
Yeah, and that was where you got the kind of like the same experiences you would get in Dubai, in terms of like the beach and the beach hotels and the pools and all that kind of thing, and that almost like an all-inclusive type feel. So I do feel like Abu Dhabi is one that's very much now on my radar, and before wouldn't have been. And then of course not forgetting, the mosque and the President's Palace and all of those amazing cultural experiences. So I just felt like it was kind of like cultural. You've got that tranquility of the desert, you've got the beach and the pools, and then you've also got this whole high energetic, entertainment space, and it's all in one place. So for me, it would be like a 3 nights in the desert, a 2 nights by kind of all the 2 or 3 nights by the theme parks, and then a couple of days for the cultural and the beach and that kind of experience. I think it's like a really great holiday spot.
It really offers so much, and I think the listeners will pick that up, because every episode we can't help but talk about Abu Dhabi. But I think especially at the moment when it's so cold in the UK, and it is a really great place for winter sun, around a 7-hour flight, so it's one of the closer destinations compared to maybe going somewhere like Mauritius or Maldives. It's a little bit further afield. It does feel like you can go there for a shorter space of time because that flight's a little bit quicker from the UK.
Yeah, the flight was like blink and you missed it. It's such a comfy flight, isn't it? I mean, I know we flew with Etihad and it was so comfortable and just relaxed. It felt like literally we could have just gone to Spain. It was over so quickly.
It was, yeah. I really, really enjoyed that flight. And with Etihad Holidays as well, they just looked after us so well, didn't they?
Yeah, they really did.
Oh, it was brilliant. But aside from Abu Dhabi, where else have you been, Shanie, that you've just fallen in love with?
Me and my husband decided to do our honeymoon before our wedding, which is a bizarre thing to do. So essentially, we knew we wanted to start a family and we knew we wanted to get married. But equally, we both had this idea of doing like a big trip to Singapore and then going on to the Maldives. And neither of us felt like it was a particularly baby friendly trip. And neither of us felt like it was the sort of place that you could go to for less than kind of like 12 days. So we weren't comfortable also with the idea of leaving a young baby for that amount of time either. So we were like, do you know what? Let's just like reverse the script, the way that you're supposed to do things. Let's just do the honeymoon now. We've got the money, we've got the time, we don't have any responsibilities that we need to, make other arrangements for. Let's just do it. So that was a really awesome trip. I fell in love with Singapore. I think it's probably my favorite city in the world. And I've been to, Dubai, I've been to New York, I've been to, obviously I'm from London. I've been to Paris, Barcelona, all these places. I think for me, Singapore as a kind of like a city, a hub, was just incredible. Culturally, it's me, I love like a great aesthetic, and lots of it was so green, and there's plants and flowers everywhere, and everything's so well looked after, and there's no litter, and it was so clean, and everything was beautiful. Great heat, and then you've got kind of like Little India, you've got just so many amazing things going on there. And then you can also go out to I've gone completely blank on the name of the place I'm thinking of, but it's basically got a Universal Studios. It's a bit like Abu Dhabi. It's got, you kind of get this cable car over, and then you're on this little island where they have a beach, and then they also have like a few theme parks, like an aquarium, Universal Studios, a couple of things like that. So you can also get that there. But some of the hotels and the restaurants, and even to party, like it's a really great place to be. And we had so much fun. We went for 5 nights, which I think was just about right. I probably could have done another night or so. And then we flew on to the Maldives and we stayed at Kuramathi Island.
I remember holiday, because I think all of your friends were living vicariously through you and Tony, your husband, on that trip. We all said it, didn't we? It was brilliant.
Yeah, it was such a good trip. And the island that we stayed on was one of the biggest Maldivian islands, because we both, going back to what I said about my mum just being a sun worshipper, Tony and I, when we got together, he's very active. He doesn't really like to just lay in the sun. Like you can get a day out of him, and then he's like, let's go and explore this. He likes to go on big, long, massive walks and go and see things, and what has the country got to offer. And I was like, oh, I'm not used to doing this on holiday. We kind of just like sunbathe and read a book and get some lunch and have a cocktail, and like there's not really much more to our holidays. And then I've kind of done the other side of it, where it's like a work trip, but this whole like active holiday was not really my bag. But so we chose Kuramathi because it was the island that was the biggest, so there was more to do on the island. They've got a marine biology center on there. They do a lot of diving, just from the actual resort. They had tennis courts and a football field and a spa, and all of these amazing things. Lots of different restaurants and turtle conservation and all that kind of thing. So we felt like there was a little bit more to do. And I'd really recommend that island.
Oh, it just looks so beautiful from your photos, from your social media. Just absolutely stunning trip. And I love how you flipped it, and you did have your honeymoon before your wedding. And I think that's the thing with travel. People don't necessarily need to follow the traditions of, a summer holiday or like a honeymoon or a baby moon. Like you say, sometimes it's just like be spontaneous, think outside the
Yeah,
box, go at different
absolutely.
times, do something. And like Tony obviously encouraged you to have a more active holiday. Is that how you holiday now? Do you prefer to have a balance?
Yeah, that's why I think he would like Abu Dhabi. He's not so keen on the idea of going to Dubai. I think and you still have the wealth and all of that and kind of in your face glamour in Abu Dhabi, but I do feel like you see a lot more kind of like the real experience of Emirati lifestyle and stuff there. And I think there's less expats and things. So I definitely think he would enjoy that more because there's more to do. But yeah, now we kind of go on the method of like wherever we go, we have a chill day and then an activity day, and then a chill day and an activity day. Our first trip together was Cancun, and it was very much like that. Like we got there the first day, we was on the beach, we went out kayaking, and we just like very much stayed at the resort. And then the next day he was like, right, we're going on a speedboat safari, and I was like, okay. So I was like, cool. We drove around a speedboat out into the middle of the ocean, and we dove into a cenote, and we did all of these cool things. So I'm very grateful for him because I feel like he has opened my eyes to going on holiday is not just about resting and getting a good tan. Going on holiday is actually also about exploring the world, discovering other cultures and cuisines, and learning something and coming away feeling like you are enriched by your travel experience, and also just making awesome memories. And I think when you rinse and repeat the same holiday, I tell this to my mum and dad all the time, who have a habit of, they've got a little spot they like to go to in Lanzarote. So they just go there all the time because they know they've got a restaurant they like and a bar that they like. And, I'm always like, gosh. So recently, it leads me on to one of my next recommendations is Senegal. So, or Senegal, as they say. My friend Anushka and her now husband Sasha moved there because he's Senegalese, and they got married in November, and we flew out for their wedding. And I called my parents and I said, listen, we're going to West Africa. We're going to Senegal. We've hired a villa. It's got 5 bedrooms. There's 3 of us. It's got a pool. It's on the beach. That was my mum. Sorry, pool and beach. Yeah, there. It's a really beautiful villa in a great area, and it's going to be a complete culture shock, but I think you should just come and have this experience. And I nearly fell off my chair that they both separately were up for it. And then so they ended up coming with us, and it was a big culture shock for them. But equally, my dad, who very much doesn't want it, for him, if there's not a bar where he can get a couple of euros pint, and he can watch the football on the TV. And my mum, if there's not the food that she's used to having, the pair of them, when it comes to him and a nice pub, and her and the food that she likes, they can be quite difficult. And I had to kind of sit them down very early on in the trip and go, this is not your average holiday where we are embracing culture. We're doing what they do. We're having the food that they have. Like, we're here, be present, stop looking for the trip that you have when you go to Lanzarote. You're not finding that here, you know? Be where we are, be present, gain something from this experience. And both of them struggled with it a little bit, but then towards the end of the week, they were like, actually, like, what an amazing experience. And, you know, those things that they enjoy more in their, you know, their creature comforts. But they definitely said they're so glad that they did it. It's given them the bravery to want to go and see more places. And by the end of the week, my dad was like, oh, do you lot fancy Thailand? And oh, I've always wanted to go to Canada. And I was like, see, it's like enriching them. It's giving them the confidence to think about other trips and other experiences. So, but I'd very much recommend Senegal. I've never felt so safe, and it was just such a beautiful experience.
I love how you've encouraged your parents to, I think that is the key word you said there. It is, you've encouraged them to try something new, but now they've got this newfound confidence and want to explore, which is just fantastic. And I think that's a story I hear a lot, is when people get pushed out of their comfort zone that one time, they kind of then change forever, and they don't want to necessarily just go back. I mean, I appreciate there is something lovely and comforting about going to somewhere that's familiar and somewhere overseas that still feels like home, where you maybe, you know, the local people, the local restaurants. I understand that, but I think every now and again to embrace somewhere else and trying something new is fantastic.
I sorry to cut you there, Hayley. I was just going to say that there is Mykonos for me, because me and my mum have been going to Mykonos probably about, I want to say, 17 years. And yeah, before, when they only used to do one flight a week, and when you could go to Mykonos and your flight would be 130 quid, and your accommodation would be £200 for the week, and you'd probably take £200 spending money and leave with change. That's when I started going to Mykonos, and it's actually crazy now that it's like, you know, thousands of pounds a week holiday now. But luckily, I still stay at the very same family-owned boutique hotel that I've been staying at for all of that time, and they still give me a pretty good rate. It's definitely not £200 a week, but I still get a pretty good rate, and it definitely feels like home away from home. I mean, we took River there when he was a very young baby, and they just were above and beyond. They even picked us up at the airport themselves, you know. So yeah, it's a really nice spot. That's my kind of like, if this year Tony was traveling lots, and I was like, oh, I just want to get a little go and a little break with me and River, that would be where I would go, because I feel comfortable there, even just me and my little one on my own.
I was going to ask, how has traveling changed since you've become a mum?
Oh, wow, that's a big change. No, they don't tell you about that, do they? Bloody hell. Am I allowed to say that? So all the mums and dads out there will know exactly why I just took that moment of, oh gosh. It's put it this way. I mean, we make things particularly difficult for ourselves because our little boy is plant-based. So for example, in Senegal, there is no such thing as a vegetarian or a vegan. So we had to book an extra large suitcase just filled with food and snacks and everything that I mean, we took like 8 cartons of coconut milk with us because they didn't sell it in the supermarket. Like, we took everything. Funny story though, we arrived, our bags didn't. Imagine that conundrum for 24 hours without your luggage when you've got a vegan baby and all the food's in the suitcase. We were like scratching for an avocado to eat. Uh, but yeah, I definitely feel like the first year, maybe even year and a half, is pretty easy, because the climate change, if you're going somewhere hot, it tires them out. You know, a bit of swimming in the pool. River, when we went to Mykonos the first year with him, that was the first holiday we did with him. He slept for 2.5, 3 hours every lunchtime. So we were like, this is easy. Did the morning in the pool. We made sure we had a room where, like literally on the pool edge. So we would put our sun lunches on the terrace, go in the pool, read a book. River would just be asleep in the cot behind us. 3 hours every day, and then he was out again at like 7 o'clock in the evening because he was so tired from all the sun. So that was dreamy. Now, going away this time to Senegal with a 3-year-old, it's like, mummy, come play with me, come jump in the pool, watch me, mummy, watch me. I mean, I don't think it's the first year I've ever come back from a hot country without a tan. And even my best friend said to me, was it not hot in Senegal? And I was like, yeah, it would, but it was, but River did not let us sit down for 5 minutes. It was constant. So it's definitely less relaxing.
Yeah, but lovely to have those memories as a family, though, and lovely for your son to start experiencing the world. And like you said, maybe having some of those trips and adventures that weren't available to you when you were growing up. I was exactly the same. I didn't go abroad until I was a teenager either. But how nice that he's going to experience all of that. I know he won't remember necessarily now, but there's all the photos and the memories and the stories that you'll have to share with him when he's a little bit older.
Yeah, I mean, we got back in obviously in November, and he's still talking about it now and saying,
Oh,
when can he go to Senegal and see his friend Shaka? So that's quite cute,
oh.
and talking about how he started jumping in the pool and stuff. So he learnt to swim there as well, which was nice.
Oh, that is so lovely. And before you leave us, Shanie, where are you travelling to in 2024? What have you got on your hit list this year?
So this year I'm doing a girls' trip to Dubai for my 40th birthday. So we're just doing 5 nights, and apparently West Palm Beach is the new spot to stay. So we're going to stay there. And we are going back to Senegal. That's how much we enjoyed it. This time we're taking my brother and his partner, and we're taking Tony's mum. And we're going to stay in a slightly different villa further along the beach. So we're doing that hopefully in December. And I'm currently exploring a few nights in Florence, and then going down to kind of Tuscan wine country for a couple of nights as well with Tony. And that will be a baby-free break. And I'm also looking at maybe a cheeky week in Mykonos, but I'm not sure. And we've also looked at the Anantara. So I'm still trying to figure it out. Like that kind of like between now and that Dubai trip in October is wide open as to what we're going to do. But I also love a little UK staycation. Like the Cotswolds is one of my favourite places in the world to go. Usually go twice a year. This is the first year we haven't actually spoken about a trip there, to be honest. And I like doing kind of trips with my friends that have got toddlers. We did something recently called Caboo by the Sea, which was these kind of little cabins down near kind of Dover, Folkestone type way in Kent. And it was, easy to get to, an hour and a half. It was my two friends and their little girl, another two sets of friends and their little boy, and then us and our little boy. And we all just hired a cabin, and we spent 4 nights there midweek. And it was just really nice and chilled. It was cold, but we still had a good time. So I like those kind of like little staycations with friends that are just kind of like little mini breaks, but not too much faff with the travel.
I think they just help to break up the year, don't they? And just give you the little pockets of travel time to look forward to that are really easy to fit in around your life. Because sometimes you haven't got that week or 2 weeks that you need for a big holiday, but a little staycation, I think for me as well, always just keeps me going until the next sunny holiday.
Definitely, 100%. I completely agree.
Oh, Shanie, well, I know you're a busy lady and I need to let you go, but thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. You've really inspired me. Singapore's been somewhere that I've really wanted to visit for years, and hearing
totally go.
Description of it has really ignited like my desire to go there, and I'm sure it will have for the listeners. But where can people keep in touch with you? Because I know you're very active on socials if people want to follow what you're up to, and of course you've got your business with your husband. So where can people find you?
Yeah, so my social media is at Shanie_Ryan. That's on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all the usual spots. And then when you go into my bio, you'll also see the links to me and my husband's property companies where we do like interior design and renovations. And if you love a bit of interiors inspo, you can take a look on there. And then also my website, shanieryan.co.uk.
Amazing. Oh, thank you so much, Shanie. Well, I will be following you closely this year to see where you're up to and to get all those travel tips. Thank you so much for joining me.
No worries, my lovely. Thank you for chatting to me, Hayley.
I've loved it. Thank you so much for listening to the latest episode of the Travel Podcast. Remember, if you would like any more information on any of the destinations, Shanie's given us so many great hotspots and examples. You can find your local travel consultant by just typing in your postcode on the Not Just Travel website. Thank you for listening. I will see you next week on the Travel Podcast.